You think your $1 million machine is invincible? Think again. I've seen brand new excavators and dozers, fresh off the lot, turn into $100,000 paperweights in half the time they should. And why? It's not because they were built poorly. It's because of simple mistakes, small habits, costly oversights that snowball into catastrophic failures. My name's not important, but what is important is the 2 decades I've spent with grease under my fingernails and my head buried in the engine bays of these mechanical beasts. I'm here to share the dirty secrets that keep your iron in the dirt and out of the shop. This isn't what they teach you in a classroom. This is the hard-won truth from the shop floor. Let's dig in. Secret number 10, the daily walk-around is not a suggestion. I know how it is. The sun's just starting to crack the horizon, you've got a long day ahead, and you just want to get in the cab and get that engine roaring. You give the machine a quick glance, kick a track, and figure it's good to go. Let me tell you a true story about a guy we'll call Bill. Bill was in a hurry one morning. He skipped his real walk-around on his 30-ton excavator. He missed a tiny, almost invisible pinhole leak on a main hydraulic hose. To him, it just looked like a bit of morning dew, a little sweat on the line. By noon, that pinhole, under thousands of pounds of pressure, gave way. It erupted, spraying 50 gallons of hydraulic fluid 10 feet in the air all over a pristine commercial job site before he could even process what was happening and shut it down. The repair for that single hose, a few $100 and a couple hours of my time. The cleanup bill from the EPA for the environmental spill, plus the fines, plus the cost of having that machine down for 2 full days, let's just say it was enough to make a grown man cry. That 5 minutes you think you're saving in the morning isn't worth it. Use your eyes. Get up close. Look for drips, leaks, and wet spots under the engine and around the hydraulic pumps. Use your ears. Before you fire it up, just stand there for a moment and listen for the faint hiss of an air or hydraulic leak. Glance at your track tension. Look at your pins and bushings for any signs of excessive wear. It is the cheapest, and I mean the absolute cheapest insurance policy you will ever have on a piece of heavy equipment. Secret number 9. Your undercarriage is a ticking time bomb. When you look at a dozer or an excavator, your eyes go right to the blade, the bucket, the big engine. But what you should be looking at is everything underneath. Hard to believe, but the undercarriage, the tracks, rollers, idlers, and sprockets can account for up to 50% of your machine's total maintenance cost over its entire lifetime. Half the cost of everything. And what's the number one killer of an undercarriage? It's not rock or rough terrain. It's just plain old dirt and mud. That gunk you let pack in around your rollers and idlers, it's not just sitting there. It dries and hardens, and it's like mixing sandpaper with glue. It grinds away at your expensive components with every single rotation. It puts incredible strain on your track motors and final drives. In the winter, it freezes solid, turning into a block of ice that can bust seals and even derail a track. Using a pressure washer or a track spade at the end of the day isn't about making the machine look pretty for the next morning. It's a non-negotiable part of maintenance. Clean it out every single day. You're not just washing off mud. You're saving yourself a 5-figure phone call to the parts department for a full undercarriage replacement. Secret number 8. Stop choking your engine. Everybody knows you need to change your air filters. It's basic. But here's a secret that might surprise you. Most people are doing it all wrong. I see guys who, like clockwork, pull out a perfectly good filter and toss it just because it's been in there a week. Or worse, they take a high-pressure air hose and try to blow it clean from the outside in. All you're doing is pushing fine, engine-killing dust deeper into the filter. Here's the truth. Modern air filters are designed to become more efficient as they collect an initial layer of dust. That light coating helps catch even finer particles. Your machine has a filter restriction indicator, that little gauge or light in the cab, for a reason. It's not a decoration. Let it do its job. When that indicator tells you it's time to change the filter, that's when it's actually time. Replacing it before then is literally throwing money away. A clogged filter is bad, but a torn one is worse. Never use an air hose. You risk creating tiny tears in the filter paper, and that's an open invitation for a fine layer of dust to slowly destroy your engine from the inside out, a process we call dusting an engine. Secret number 7. Grease is cheap. New pins and bushings are not. You hear that? That is the sweet, sweet sound of money being saved. Every single joint on that excavator arm, on the boom, on the stick, on the bucket, every one is a high-pressure battleground of metal-on-metal friction. The only thing standing between a healthy joint and a destroyed one is a thin film of grease. I once worked on a machine where the operator always skipped greasing the main bucket pin because, and I quote, "it was a pain to get to." 6 months later, that pin and bushing were completely fused together from heat and friction. It wasn't a simple replacement anymore. We had to bring in a mobile line boring machine and spend 2 full days with torches and welders, cutting out the old joint and fabricating a new one. A 2-day job that should have been prevented by a grease gun that cost less than a decent lunch turned into a $10,000 nightmare. Your machine has a lubrication chart, usually on a sticker somewhere in the cab or on the frame. Find it, memorize it, live by it. There is no such thing as too much grease on a heavy-duty pivot point. Pump that grease in until you see fresh, clean grease pushing the old, gritty stuff out. Secret number 6. The warm-up myth is killing your machine. This one's an old habit, passed down from generation to generation, and it's a hard one to break. It's a cold morning, so you fire up that big diesel and let it sit there and idle for 20 minutes to get it all warmed up. You think you're helping it. You're actually hurting it. When a big diesel engine is idling cold, the fuel doesn't burn completely. It leads to something called cylinder wash, where raw fuel washes the lubricating oil right off the cylinder walls. It builds up carbon on your pistons and valves, and it creates sludge in your oil because the oil never gets hot enough to burn off contaminants. The secret from the guys who build these engines? Start it up. Let it idle for just 2 or 3 minutes, long enough to build oil pressure and get the fluids moving. Then, start working. Not at full power, of course, just light-duty work. Track the machine back and forth a few times, gently cycle the hydraulics up and down. The engine, the transmission, and the hydraulic system will all come up to operating temperature faster and more evenly under a light load than they ever will just sitting there wasting fuel. You'll save on fuel, and more importantly, you'll save your engine. Secret number 5. Your operators are your first line of defense. You can have the best mechanic in the world, but he isn't sitting in that cab for 10 hours a day. Your operator is. An experienced operator knows his machine better than he knows his own truck. He knows what it sounds like, what it feels like every single day. He's the first one to know when something is off. A new vibration that wasn't there yesterday, a strange whine from the hydraulic pump, a slight hesitation when it tracks to the left. These are not just minor annoyances. They are critical early warning signs. I had a contractor call me once about a weird hum his dozer operator had been complaining about for a week. The foreman kept telling him to ignore it and get back to work. By the time I finally got the call to come out, that weird hum, which was a failing bearing in the final drive, had let go completely. It took out the entire planetary gear set with it. A simple $200 bearing replacement, if caught early, had turned into a $15,000 final drive rebuild. Listen to your operators. Encourage them to speak up. A good operator isn't a complainer. He's a diagnostic tool. Secret number 4. Not all fluids are equal. Look, I get it. We all want to save a buck. You see a 5-gallon bucket of hydraulic fluid at the farm supply store for half the price of the OEM stuff, and it's tempting. The label says, universal heavy-duty fluid, right? Let me tell you, there is no such thing as universal when it comes to the lifeblood of your machine. Every manufacturer, Cat, Deere, Komatsu, you name it, they all engineer their hydraulic systems and transmissions to work with fluids that have very specific proprietary additive packages. We're talking about special soaps to keep things clean, anti-foaming agents to prevent pump damage, and anti-corrosion packages to protect the internals. When you use that cheap, generic stuff, you're rolling the dice on a multi-thousand-dollar system. It might cause your seals to swell and leak, or cause your wet clutches to slip and burn out. It's just not worth the risk. This is one place you absolutely cannot afford to be cheap. Use the fluid the manufacturer specifies. Period. Secret number 3. Pushing past the limit is a fool's game. We've all seen it. The operator who's a bit of a cowboy. He thinks he can push just a little more rock, lift just one more scoop of wet dirt. He's trying to save a few minutes by overloading the machine. What he's really doing is creating stress. Microscopic cracks in the frame and boom welds, immense pressure spikes in your hydraulic pumps, an incredible gear-bending strain on your final drives. Metal has a memory, and it remembers every single time you push it past its design limits. And one day, that memory catches up. A boom cracks, a frame twists, a transmission gives out. And I promise you, it will always happen on the most important day of the biggest job you have. The machine has a rated capacity for a reason. Respect it. If the job is too big, get a bigger machine. It's a lot cheaper than breaking the one you have. Secret number 2. The hidden killer in your electrical system. 20 years ago, you could fix most engine problems with a good set of wrenches and some intuition. Today, you need a laptop. These machines are rolling computer networks with more sensors and wires than a spaceship. And their biggest enemy is something you probably don't even think about. It's corrosion in the electrical connectors. That dirt, dust, and grime that builds up on your wiring harnesses isn't just ugly, it holds moisture against the delicate pins and connectors. I've personally spent days, and I mean days, chasing an electrical gremlin that was causing an engine to derate, only to find a single green corroded pin in a 50-pin connector. The fix? A few cents worth of contact cleaner and some dielectric grease. The cost to find it? Hundreds and hundreds of dollars in diagnostic time. Keep your wiring harnesses and computer modules as clean and dry as you can. It's just as important as changing the oil in this day and age. And now for the number 1 secret. The one that's so simple, it's almost insulting. It's the one that gets overlooked the most, but it causes some of the most catastrophic, engine-destroying failures I have ever seen. Secret number 1. The coolant is not forever. You watch your oil level like a hawk. You keep an eye on your hydraulic fluid. You fill it with diesel every day. But when was the last time you actually changed your engine coolant? Most people think as long as the reservoir is full, they're good to go. That is dead wrong. Over time, the critical additives in your coolant break down. It loses its anti-corrosion properties. It becomes acidic. And I'm not exaggerating when I say it literally starts to eat your engine from the inside out. It causes rust and scale to build up, clogging the small, vital passages in your radiator, your oil coolers, and inside the engine block itself. And what does that lead to? Overheating. Let me be crystal clear about this. If your heavy-duty diesel engine overheats just once, just one time into the red zone on that gauge, you run a very, very real risk of warping a cylinder head or blowing a head gasket. That is not a repair. That is an engine-out, multi-thousand-dollar rebuild. Look at your manual. It will tell you the service interval for your coolant, usually every few thousand hours. Flush it. Replace it with the proper type. That $100 you spend on coolant can save you from a $20,000 engine replacement. Look, these machines are your livelihood. They're not just tools, they are massive investments. And protecting that investment isn't about some magic formula or expensive gadget. It's about discipline. It's about doing the small things every single day so you can avoid the big, financially crippling things. Stop making these simple mistakes. Take care of your iron, and I promise you, it will take care of you. Do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button. There's a lot more where that came from. Now, get out there and get to work.